Going viral. Kobe White was one of the NBA draft's highest risers, going 7th overall to the Bulls. However, it was this moment last night that had everyone talking.
Cameron Johnson just went 11th. How do you react to that news?
He went what?
11th.
Cam
in
Johnson
the draft.
11th.
Yep. It's right on the screen right there.
Wow. Wow. Wow, bro. That's crazy. That's so love, bro. Because if y'all know Cam, you don't know how hard Cam worked. And, you know, it's a lot of people that doubt him. But, wow, I'm just, bro, it's such a, that's crazy, bro. Wow, that's so crazy. I'm so happy for him right now. Y'all don't understand how happy I am for Cam. Because he proved it night in, night out that he deserves to be, you know, in the conversation for a lottery pick, man. He shot the ball like anyone I've never seen before in my life or played with. So I'm so, wow, bro. That's great. I'm getting chills up here.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
I couldn't figure out if that was like a mix of, man, my guy just got drafted, or, man, my guy got drafted.
Got drafted high.
Yes. He made a lot of money.
He can shoot. He can shoot.
Yes, he can.
What did he shoot last year? 47% from 3?
Yeah, but I mean, a bit of a reach by Phoenix, it would appear. I mean, he was
that was a shock.
That was late 20s.
That was a shock of the night.
They went from the 6th pick to the 11th pick, and then they took a guy they could have gotten with the 21st pick.
He's going to be better than the last Phoenix player I said was going to be good. Don't die.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
There
telling
was
you.
a lot of emotions running high in last night's draft.
His hair, talking about high. The emotions.
And a lot, his hair is great. And how many of these guys that brought out their dad or their mom, or if they had a deceased parent, a picture of them, it was like the most familial NBA draft I've ever seen. I thought that was great. I thought it was really, really cool. That's all. What? See?
Moving on.
All right, let's move
Get on your hair, but I'm
Nope,
gonna wait.
good. That's why I started talking about that. That's why I started talking about the passed away relatives. Now you can't.
Maybe 3 minutes.
Yes.
Kyrie Irving seems to have his bags packed out of Boston. The question is where he goes next. While Brooklyn seemed to be the favorite, reports are the Nets are questioning signing Kyrie if they can't also land Kevin Durant. Vince, are teams right to have doubts about Kyrie's future after his failures in Boston?
You would be foolish not to have questions about what you have to surround a guy like Kyrie Irving with if you're going to bring him into your program. Now, I talked about it a little bit with the other day with the Celtics. I don't think the Celtics had the right infrastructure, the right support for him in terms of coaching staff, in terms of the front office, people he could relate to, people he could talk to, people he could learn from. If you're Brooklyn, you have to make sure you have that independent of Kevin Durant, independent of anything else that you bring into your locker room. You have to make sure you have the infrastructure, because Kyrie, although he has a lot of NBA experience, he's still learning a lot. And his effect, his personality from a day-to-day basis on a young, impressionable team. We saw how that happened in Boston. I think he caught too much of the criticism, but some of the criticism was warranted as far as how his personality had a negative effect on some of those young players. You have to be very careful about that. He cannot be the most dominant personality in your locker room. Maybe your best player, but not your most dominant personality. I think there's a difference between the two.
I would have enormous trepidation about this, but it wouldn't prevent me from bringing him in. First of all, there's 10 teams that have max cap space. There's really only at most 6 guys that are true max players that you would do without any anxiety. Are they going to live up to it? And he's one of those 6. So there are going to be guys, when we're talking about Nikola Vucevic maybe getting a max deal, of course Kyrie Irving should get a max deal.
Vucevic, now what tier is he? Because these guys, you can't have everyone on the same level,
right, so
even though they're free agents.
To me, KD, Kawhi, Kyrie, and Kimba are that top tier. And even within that tier, there's a tier. But let's just call them all that top tier. Then Jimmy Butler, D'Angelo Russell, Tobias Harris are that next tier, and you could say there's tiers within that. And then you get to Chris Middleton, Vucevic, Al Horford, that tier right there. I don't know where Boogie Cousins falls into any of this, because I don't think he's going to get a max contract. But the point is, I just mentioned 10 names. There's 10 teams. A few of them have double max cap space. So if you can get Kyrie Irving, and I don't think the Nets would turn Kyrie Irving down. I don't think they would feel as great about it as if Kawhi Leonard said, hey, I want to come here, and that's understandable. But I also don't think we should shut the door to Kyrie Irving evolving, to Kyrie Irving learning from failure. Last year was the first real failure of Kyrie Irving's career, I would argue. Those first few years in Cleveland before LeBron got there, he didn't fail. No. The team got a little bit better each year. You can argue maybe they underachieved somewhat, but they didn't have great players. They spent first overall pick on Anthony Bennett. Like, that's it.
He was able to display his ability that people knew. He's rare as far as dribbling, finishing at the rim, an elite scorer. So he actually earned some credibility in the NBA, on the NBA streets.
And so he learned, so there's that phase. Then there's phase with LeBron. Then there's the Celtics phase. We don't know what would have happened in that first year when the Cavs were LeBron and injured Kevin Love and Jeff Green, but Kyrie got hurt and Gordon Hayward obviously was out all year. And then last year was a disaster. It was a disaster on all accounts, and Kyrie clearly needs something of a fresh start. I don't want to act like I think it's impossible that he has the ability to be introspective and say, okay, how much of it was on me? How much of it was my leadership style didn't resonate with the young people? How much of it was my focus on the playoffs starting in February put too much pressure on me when the playoffs started and not enough focus on getting as high in the standings as we could have, maybe avoiding the Milwaukee in round 2 if we had focused more in the regular season, all those things. And then there is, to me, the toughest question Kyrie Irving has to ask himself, which is, how important is it to me to reach my overall highest potential as a basketball player for the longest period of time? Because if that is the most important thing to him, then there are some things off the court he needs to get better at. There are some things off the court he might need to cut out of his life to stay healthier. And those are things certain teams around the league have concerns about. He's not the only NBA superstar people have concerns about them with, but you don't have that concern with Kawhi. You don't have that concern with KD. I've never heard that concern with Kemba Walker. So Kyrie's the only one in that first tier where you're like, hey, what would it be? So those are all legitimate questions. But if you're the Nets, of course, if you can sign him, you sign him, at least in my mind.
And his free agency is definitely got more difficult since Kevin Durant got hurt. Because I know the Nets, they got 2 spots available. If Kevin Durant said, I want to be Kyrie with me, they're going to be like, no problem. Both of you can come. I know the Knicks would take him under that circumstance. But if you don't have KD, it seems like everyone's still wondering, is Kyrie better being a little brother compared to being a big brother? We saw in Boston this year. And this is what I'll say as far as you giving him benefit of the doubt as far as going into the future. Not signing with Boston is a sign that he's not going to make another mistake. Because he could get more money from Boston, go back there into a situation that he is not going to flourish. So at least good decision making starts with one decision. So we got to be able to give him credit. He should be able to learn through the wealth of knowledge he's been exposed to, what type of organization he wants to be with, style of play, and teammates. And this time, there's no excuse. He's not being traded. He's actually picking the team, so I expect him to continue to mature and be better in this decision making than the situation he was put in when he forced his way out of Cleveland.
Well, and how much you factor in there was probably things he would take responsibility for last season, but even throughout the course of the year coming out and saying, you know what, I called LeBron and said, I didn't realize how hard this was. I thought I wanted my own team. I thought I wanted to run my own team. And I realized there were some nuances that maybe I didn't understand. As he moves forward and wherever he chooses to go, what do you think for him is the best fit of those around him? Does he need another player to be able to help him out with that type of leadership?
Absolutely. And I think his personality is no different than many other superstars' personalities we've had in the league. We just know more. We just have more access to the moods. And Kyrie is more intimate with and letting us know that, hey, I don't like the way things are going. Sometimes guys can be too honest to some degree, and they let us in. They let us in behind the curtain. And when Kyrie said, hey, we're not taking this seriously enough, everybody said, well, Kyrie, you shouldn't say that. But then you look at it and say, well, Kyrie was exactly correct. The problem was that he said it and that we're not used to hearing that level of honesty. Kevin Durant is sort of the same way, which is why I think those two guys connect and bond, because they're so similar. Here's the other thing about this, and let's be honest. When people fail with the Boston Celtics, we look at it as it's a problem with you, not the problem with the organization, because the Celtics have a certain amount of credibility with the public because of Danny Ainge, because of Brad Stevens and everything else. Kyrie should take a share of the blame, not all of it. And I think when you move forward, we're going to see that Kyrie has his flaws, but he's not this player who, like, let's be honest, there's only but so many types of talent like this in the league.
Right.
You're not going to pass that up.
He's
let's
not a
be honest.
cancerous player. And one last very quick note. I think the Nets would sign him if it was just him. I also think Kyrie, he's got rabbit ears to a degree. If this report is erroneous, the Nets need to back channel to Kyrie's new representation at Rock Nation and tell him that. Because Kyrie, I wouldn't put it past Kyrie to hear something like this and be like, oh, y'all don't want me? Dallas will want me. We know the Lakers want him. So the Nets, I think, need to. They can't publicly because it'd be tampering right now. But they got to make it clear to Kyrie's people, if they do want him, which I think they do, don't listen to the noise here.
Sounds good. Vince, thanks so much for being here with us today. We appreciate it. Coming up is Zion, a can't-miss NBA superstar. That's next on First Things First.
Did you say tampering?
Can I tamper?